Good afternoon. Welcome to the Mob Boss Bolshevism podcast, MBB for short. It's Saturday, March 30th. We're going to talk about going to get into some topics today, specifically small overview. We got the mass casualty event in Russia that happened this week, the ceasefire agreement reached at the UN, the Baltimore Bridge collapse, and Argentina's economy imploding under Javier Milei.
What's his name again?
Javier Milei.
Javier Milei must be arrested.
Among other things. So let's get into it. We'll start off first with the Russian mass shooting. It's been speculated that a lot of the perpetrators of the attack were actually from the Ukrainian side. A lot of them looked not to be, while they didn't exactly look Ukrainian, they didn't have the features and such. They had more Middle Eastern features, and they spoke rudimentary Ukrainian, and either way they got pretty beat up according to the police photos.
Yeah, I saw a video of the guy. They cut his ear and they made him eat it.
That was wild.
Yeah, it was wild. I mean, in my opinion, Putin, a couple of days before that, has said that 90% of terrorist attacks are done by the CIA, and then this happens.
Yeah.
I don't have any hard evidence saying it is, by the Americans' hands, or if it was a CIA plot. But there are a lot of people that do believe that ISIL is controlled by the CIA, and it's just a front to attack a lot of these, like Iran, Syria, all these countries that are not in support of the United States imperialism.
Uh-huh. Yeah, no, I think Obama said as much during a press briefing. He said, we created that, and one of his former generals said, we created ISIL like it was a funding, not a funding error. They said, yeah, we put money to it to create a group that we could control and dictate, when and where to operate to attack our, enemies who oppose us ideologically. So it tracks. We're not saying for sure, but the video coming out of the attack and of the people who perpetrated it, or the suspects, I should say. It's almost too on the nose, a little too clear who and what was behind the scenes.
And so that you all know, about 140 people died.
Yeah, I think it was maybe one of the largest, outside of war, one of the largest mass casualty events in Russia. Don't quote me on that.
What's the highest count for a mass shooting in the United States? I believe it's like 53 or 56 then, or somewhere around there by that Vegas shooter.
The Vegas lawsuit, yeah. Which was also under also dubious circumstances how that came about and how that was investigated. But it was, yeah, for sure, by and large. And this is, we're not saying hey, we're comparing numbers here to diminish one over the other. That's not all what we're doing. It's really just to say this is an obviously terrible loss of life. Whatever your opinion on the war between Russia and Ukraine, civilians dying like this does not need to happen. But outside of that, that being said, yeah, this was it smells kind of fishy to me. So I wouldn't put it past the CIA to be behind it. So.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. I mean, they want Russia gone. They want Putin gone.
Hmm.
They want to install their puppet in Russia and control Russia.
And ironically, I'm sorry,
No,
sorry
go
to
ahead.
interrupt.
Go ahead.
Ironically, they already had their puppet. Putin, for those who don't know, Putin kind of uh, was a he's an ex former KGB official, and he was kind of the U.S.'s I guess mole or operative before the like fall of the Soviet Union, dissolution of the Soviet Union, I should say, legal dissolution, and they just kind of said, "Hey, Putin, you wanna, fucking run Russia?" And they're like, he's like, "Yeah, sure." So, all the problems, all the bad guys in the world that the U.S. claims to be like the bad guys, at one point or another, were chances are, and in this case, were supported by the U.S. and the State Department.
Sorry, sorry about that. It's my bad. Somebody came at the door. So yeah, I'm on the other side where I say like Putin is kind of like really controlling the United States in his ways when being with Trump. Um, personally, I'm not anti-Trump, but I'm not pro-Trump either. But I believe that Trump has revealed a lot of the deep state, and a lot of issues within the government. At the same time, this Trump is still a businessman who conducted shady business throughout his life and racial profile black people when he was selling houses and stuff like that. So again, I'm in the neutral side in this, but I think Putin has a pretty good grasp in the United States that to be honest needs to be had because the United States has gone throughout the world as installed. I remember learning in a political science class that the United States had so many bases throughout the world that they even showed us this country, which I don't remember the name. That they said barely anybody knows this country, and there's bases, military bases there. You
Mm.
know, so um, again, like not I'm going on a tangent right now, so I'm gonna come back to shooting, which is as Trump said, is horrific that so many lives were lost, innocent people. I've seen the actual video of the shooter like shooting at the people, and then one guy just fucking like going to this guy that's like laying down and going like multiple times with a knife like that until like he starts bleeding and he's like dying, and it's fucking disgusting. Like I was so glad to see that guy get his ear cut off, and like they made him eat it. Like
He
he
got
fucking
his
deserved.
comeuppance for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's again we don't it's rarely that I see stuff like that and think like I hope justice does come for those people, but that's 140 families, or at very least individuals that have with families who have been affected needlessly um, by by terror. So.
You know what's funny?
Hmm.
That same day, they got the news that what's her name, Kate or whatever, has cancer. From
Oh
the
yeah.
like they ran the Russian thing for a little bit, but all they talked about in CNN, MSNBC is like, hey, oh my God,
Mm-hmm.
she's so brave, like like poor her, like she's going through all this stuff. Let's support her. Like, what is this with the monarchy that we're fucking like obsessed with them? Like, like literally like a fucking mass shooting event happened in Russia where 140 people died, and Kate's breast. I don't know if it's breast cancer, but cancer
Mhm.
is important just because she's royalty. Like fuck that. That family needs to go like completely. Like, just like in the Soviet Union, what they did with
With the Tsarists.
the SARS. Yeah, that's the way we should do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say she's got money. She's going to be fine. The only thing that made it like super weird was that they tried to cover it up because she made those posts about she posted pictures of her family that was very obviously like manipulated, photoshopped, and and then tried to play it off as like, oh, that she's Kate, she's still good, she's doing all right, and it's like, well, um, posting those and then telling us that she's all right is just makes it's like it's a Streisand effect, right? You're just like, oh well, no one was gonna pay attention to this until people really brought it to, or rather maybe the opposite of the Streisand effect. Um, you notice a little bit of inconsistencies, and then it just creates a bigger story. But why not just come out and say like, hey, she has cancer? Like that would be that would be a that would
Because
be a much simpler story to run with than like beating us over the head with moralism about how about our speculations.
it portrays weakness in the potential next king. If the what was his name, Charles or whatever,
Yeah.
dies and he passes it on to his son with Kate,
Hmm.
it potentially sees a weakness that she might die and there will be no queen. You know, those type of plays are in factor. Like
Sure. You're
so
saying like public perception of it.
public perception of it, I mean, it really depends. Like, there is a public perception of, hey, like she's brave and all this stuff, like but like more of like their type of thinking, their Machiavellian thought of how things go about. They think
Mm.
about this is a weakness that's going to be shown to the public, and somebody can possibly like
Take
profit off of it.
Yeah, there's already someone profiting off of that. It's the royal fucking family. Like they're just getting like those people have money for fucking ages. They're like the only people doing well off this is them really. Like they're getting the good or bad PR. They're still raking in taxes, being a bunch of fucking loafers. Um, I don't, it's like, hey, I'm sad. It's unfortunate that you have breast cancer. Wish you the best. My mother had breast cancer and she survived. It's not something that you really you wish on anybody, but just fucking say that, dude. Like that is the breast cancer shit aside. Yeah, being the royal family, it's like, dude. Um, if if gun laws pass in the UK to be more like the US, they would be gone in a minute. I guarantee you. But perhaps that's why they don't allow it, among other things.
There's
Uh,
not to be rude, but let's move on because we're doing the same thing, CNN. With fucking, going into the case.
sure,
Like,
sure, sure.
yeah, it's something like, look, I don't believe in a monarchy. I don't support the monarchy. They're not just a symbol in England or Britain. They're not just a symbol. They can, if they want to, they can like, what's the term called? Like, they can like disperse the party that's in charge and like get even the prime minister like gone if they wanted to. They have that power.
Mm.
They're not just a symbol. They have power and they can do it if they want. Do they exercise it? Maybe not, but they can do it anytime. Why would you let those people do that to you? And
Yeah.
not only that, people of like Britain, they're not they're not citizens. They're subjects to their king or queen.
Hmm.
They don't have citizenship. Like I don't. it's not a matter of I don't believe in that. I just think that's ridiculous, and we're in this century that type of shit shouldn't exist at all.
Yeah, the fact that we've allowed like any royal bloodlines and be that in any manner that it comes in, whether it be the monarchy in the UK or the Vanderbilts here in the US or any of the other, hell, even the fucking Kennedys, um, you know, uh, but more so on the monarchy side, this why we've allowed them to continue past their useful age is beyond me. Um, yeah, but that's enough of that. Our next topic, the ceasefire agreement that passed in the UN. Uh, only passed. It did pass, thankfully. The U.S. abstained, and it was able to pass. And now there's going to be, I forget the timeline for it, but um, it's not a permanent ceasefire, obviously. Can't have that, right? Can't have the Palestinians uh, getting too much aid. That's bad. According, that's letting Hamas win. If you listen to any Israeli apologists, and genocide apologists for that matter, um, it's good news coming, in a genocide that's been marked by, nothing but bad news ever since October 7th. It's been um, it's just been bad news after bad news, and that's, not to trivialize it. It's obviously been going on. We know this thing has been going on for more than 75 years. This occupation. This has just been the highest the highest ramping up of killing that the occupational forces have done, and we've seen virtually nothing that has matched this in the previous century outside of the Holocaust. More people have died in the last 6 months than um, they say something like more children have died in Gaza in the last 6 months than children around the world globally. That in itself is a very telling fact. It's a very uh, it's a sobering fact, um, and one that I wish didn't exist. But it shows you the totality of um, the genocidal intent of the Israeli occupational forces.
I love how they logically form these these opinions, I guess, of or reasoning that Hamas killed 850 or people. Let's commit genocide against the whole Palestinian people. The Palestinian people who are not involved with Hamas, who are not like involved with PFLP or DFLP. Let's attack them. Like, how are they doing the war with Hamas? Like, how many Hamas members have they actually killed? No, they go. They're pussies. They go towards a population that's not armed, that don't have guns, don't have anything, and fucking like destroy them with missiles.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen videos of like Palestinians like getting shields and throwing rocks at the IDF,
Mm-hmm.
and like these pussy IDF, like shoots back. Like, what is that? Like, it's it's a terrible crime. It's a terrible genocide, and it's committed by these people who, are descendants of people who were in the Holocaust, and they're uh, doing the same thing as the Nazis. They're the cousins of the Nazis. Zionism is a cousin of Nazism,
Mm-hmm.
and they're doing the same thing that it has been done to them, and it's appalling.
If they learned anything, if they truly learned it's my opinion that if they truly learned the lessons of the Holocaust, that they wouldn't be, they would actually be, and at least in my opinion, in Israel wouldn't exist, and they would be able to cohabitate with Palestinians. It would be no problem. But that's not how the world works. That's not how history has laid it out. Because of the Balfour Declaration, because of true, like, talk about being bred from anti-Semitism. Uh, the state of Israel itself is an anti-Semitic project, and without getting too deep into it, um, the original Zionists were themselves like atheists or non-believers, or Jews that thought to themselves, who believed and internalized all of the anti-Semitic tropes that had been placed upon them. That all Jews have dual citizenship, that they don't really belong anywhere, and the world is too unsafe for them to exist, and they can't cohabitate with other cultures and other people. And so they took that and they ran with it, and they said, well, what if we made a state just for ourselves, and hence Israel. So talk about the irony of ironies. The state for Jewish people was a project born out of anti-Semitism and maintained through vile anti-Semitism. If you're a Zionist, you are an anti-Semite. Point, period, blank. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You believe that's through no matching of words. Like, you believe that the anti-Semitic tropes that Jewish people do not belong or cannot cohabitate with others, and that they truly do not belong to live, deserve to live among their fellow men. You think like they have dual loyalty and citizenship and all this other stuff, and you believe all of that shit, and it's simply not true. This ongoing project and this genocide has really been has not done anything to make Jewish people safer. In fact, there's been a rise in anti-Semitic crimes and acts against Jewish people, mostly because of the attention that's been given to this genocide. And it will be, I think, going forward, it'll be difficult for others to overcome that. It's really kind of like the call is coming from inside the house type of moment when Zionists complain about anti-Semitism. It's like you're the ones doing it. So
Yeah, I mean, there's no like at this point, like in the game, there's no point of arguing with these Zionists. They don't address the points made by pro-Palestinian people like us. They just deflect. Oh, you did the October 7 attacks. Oh, you did this, you did that. Yet you were the ones who came into the land, did not follow the partition, which in itself, like the partition, like had no authority, like United Nations, because other countries don't recognize the United Nations. But anyways, like even with the partition, you got into the lands that you weren't supposed to go through Igor or whatever the terrorist Zionist militia, and you took their land and you dispersed them enough to get them into some in the West Bank and mostly in Gaza, and now you're put them all the way south of Gaza, with a lot of people dead, with no food, no water, no shelter. The hypocritical United States is now trying to like come to the aid towards them, and they're trying to get the food in order to survive. And from this, like, I watched a little bit of the Destiny, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have you watched the Norman? What's his name?
Norman Finkelstein. Yeah, the debate.
Did you watch the debate?
Yeah.
So I watched some of it. I'm not gonna lie, I watched some of it drunk, so I don't remember it because it was just fucking stupid. Like Destiny, like the whole time he was like, "Oh, let me see what I can find, so I can make a point." And then he'll be like, "Hey, what about this? What about this? What about like he talks and like they're like, what does this have to do with the discussion? Like, or the address it, and then like he'll be like no 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 no, and then like the other guy's like, but wait, like we have a right to this, we have a right to that, we have like all this like so
It's the worst. It's the worst of YouTube, like debate pro culture brought forward and towards like towards actual intellectuals and people who like literally wrote the books that are then referenced in Wikipedia. Like if there was any person less unprepared for a debate, it was Destiny. Like all he did is like that man just I don't know why he's not a communist because he loves getting publicly owned.
this is this is all Zionist right here. This is a hinge. Can't move around. Hinge. Handcuffs. I keep this for all Zionists that I'm gonna meet. I'm not bringing the key either.
Anyway, but yeah, that debate was I mean, it was like 4.5 hours.
Yeah, it was.
It was intense, but even if you've seen the clips from it, those were in and of itself. It's basically if you've seen the clip, the compilation of Norman Finkelstein, just one getting Destiny's name wrong like every time he addresses him, and then just telling him like you're such a fantastic moron, like you don't have any humility, like if you had any, if you were anybody, like basically like you're a fucking idiot, which is the only response that you should give to Zionists, really and truly. These people, sorry.
No, go ahead. I cut you off. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, that for anybody who's wondering, like when you're born and raised in Israel, those or at least the current generation and some prior, there's literally schools. Part of your curriculum is dedicated to basically being taught falsehood about Israel having been that the land that Israel is on was a desert, and like that they made the desert bloom and all this other bullshit. And then on top of that, as you get older, there's literally like kind of like not even a troll farm. It's a propaganda farm, and they teach you how to combat talking points and arguments against Israel and in school. And there's literally like for anybody who's ever complained about Russian troll farms or any troll farm from any country, Israel's got that shit on lock. Like if anything, I'd argue that they probably didn't create it, but these guys are the fucking pros. Okay, but all their arguments really boil down to like if you say free Palestine, right? They'll be like, oh, but free Israel, and it's like free Israel from what? Like you're the de facto power in the region. You guys are controlling the fuel, the water, the food, the medicine that goes into the occupied territory. And as far as I'm concerned, they have every right to beat every one of you within an inch of your life, as per the UN. They are legally allowed to do that. Ain't shit you can do about it. But they even Norman Finkelstein references this, that never in history has there been someone like Israel who like claims to be, who's been carrying out a genocide but claiming to be the victim. There have been many genocides throughout history, but nary has one been used. Nary has one of those genocides where the perpetrator is playing the victim, and that's really all they know how to do. It's really sad. It's a sad state of affairs. It's not kind of evil. It's evil incarnate.
I was gonna say about Finkelstein using the wrong name. I feel like he did that on purpose. I'll be the type of person that do that if I don't respect the person and just fucking call him whatever the fuck the name is. Like he didn't really give a shit.
He doesn't deserve it. I'm sorry.
To the other point, were you making that Zionism was like the only one that they claimed the victim and perpetrated a genocide?
Yeah.
That's technically not true. Nazis they 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 basically said like the Jews are killing us, like we're the victims, like we're the race that is being oppressed by Jewish money, power,
sure.
and stuff.
Yeah.
So the Nazis did the same thing.
Sure. Okay.
I had the same argument before, but I realized that the Nazis actually did the same thing.
Yeah. Which really, when you think about it, it's just more damning to the Zionists. It's like you're literally talk about lessons not learned. But it's clearly, and this will probably be the last of it. It's no surprise, and I've mentioned it on this podcast before, where if you know anything about Israel, you know that they treat their Holocaust survivors very poorly. They treat them as and refer to them as like the weak Jews, those who like couldn't despite the fact that they're the survivors, a lot of them are live in abject poverty, and and instead of being not even revered, but instead of learning the lessons of like how to overcome, how to uh, how to cohabitate, how to fight like true anti-Semitism and like be one with others and stuff. They learn again. When I say they learned the wrong lessons, I literally mean they learned the wrong lessons. If you ask the Israelis, they learned the right ones because it means they get to eradicate the Palestinians and they get some free land. So yeah, it's a sad story. It's a sad state of affairs. But at this point, it should come to no surprise. Wasting any more breath arguing with Zionists over the current state of Palestinian liberation is it's a waste of time.
Yeah,
time, money, and breath.
Yeah, it's time for action. That's what it is. Like don't let them don't let them get you like down and stuff. Just keep on moving. It's time for action. They already made their own graves by what they did. Just like the capitalists are making their grave diggers because of the working class and like using the working class and expanding the working class because they're not getting paid enough, so they don't become petty bourgeois, and they working class keeps on growing, which is why it's revolutionary in its sense, and it's a great diggers to capitalists, and this is the same thing with what's going on right now because a lot of the world is pissed off. A lot of Americans who are not political, they're apolitical, are pissed off. They're looking at this genocide, and people want action, and it's gonna happen.
Yeah, at least we hope. But if I know anything about this country, I know that unlike South, I hope we go the route of South Africa. That is that anybody in South Africa who has gone to Israel to participate in the genocide, to be part of the IOF, are being arrested and locked up and put on trial for aiding and abetting a genocide. My hope, and I say hope because I know how this country works, is that we will do the same to anybody in America who participates in that genocide. I know that if I were running the country, that's how I would address it. At the same time, I wouldn't be giving money to Israel, but that's an argument for another time. So next topic, moving on. We had the Baltimore Bridge collapse.
Yeah, that was crazy. I'm sorry. I know that's a generic line, but that literally was crazy. I mean, the ship lost control. It went directly into the specific spot that would break the whole bridge down, which it comes into your mind that should the bridges be built differently architecturally to be able to support even like a hit by this cargo ship, because to me, it didn't look like it had that much support. It looked like it had like the middle, the beginning, and the end, like three.
Hmm.
But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I saw it differently. But what do you think?
I mean, I'm no architect, but I also think I heard this take and I tend to agree with it that if you ram a container ship into any structural body, it's gonna take some damage, and bridges are just
Yeah, but that took everything.
well, yeah. Again, like so everybody's aware. The ship had lost prior to the collision. The ship had lost power. Ship had lost and regained power twice. There was a mayday call made by the ship that apparently had gone unanswered. And for all the speculation that right wingers and conspiracy theorists had have to say about it, really, no one's. I'm sorry, but no one or nothing will survive. A hit from a almost fully loaded container ship. It's just within the if you've seen the video of the bridge collapse prior to the moments before, you can see that the moment when they lost power, regained it, it was all within a uh, very small window to really course correct in the most literal terms and avoid that is it was very difficult to do at that time. So, with all that being said, I look forward to condolences to the families of the five people who had died, and I look forward to the bridge being remade and hopefully uh, hopefully built better and stronger. Uh, and I would say if anyone's concerned about you know, uh, America's infrastructure. A lot of it is like that. I think this in as poor health as that bridge, if not worse. Um, there was some months ago, Biden went to visit Scranton, and a bridge like leading up to his hometown had completely collapsed on its own. It wasn't hit by anything. It just collapsed due to not being kept and just being degraded. And that's I'd argue that we'd have better infrastructure if we didn't spend all that money on wars, spend all that money on conflicts that we have no business being in, if not just to um, maintain and improve the profits of those who sponsor us.
I wanna go on a little bit of a tangent. I want to talk about what we talked about like a couple minutes, well, an hour ago or something like that.
Uh-huh.
You know, Cuba gets a lot of what's the word, flack?
Yeah.
Flack for like their buildings like coming down and like people like dying in the buildings and stuff. But Cuba has an embargo on them.
Hmm.
Now, I'm gonna give you a little story about me. I used to be in the Miami Tenants Union, and I went to a duplex apartment and talked to the people there. Went to her house, talked to them. Did they fix this? Did they fix that? Because by law, if a landlord doesn't fix something, you can withhold rent. Um, so one of the worst things I saw was a roof collapsing, and the landlord didn't fix that. He didn't want to fix that. Why would he fix that? Like, he's going to lose profits. It's hypocritical for us to criticize Cuba when in a capitalist country is being done. These stuff are being done, especially by landlords and even these moguls like capitalists that buy like a bunch of apartments just to bring them down and turn them into condos, and get the people out somewhere or another. It's a very hypocritical stance to have, and people believe that America is the greatest country and is better than Cuba just because Cuba right now has an embargo and cannot get supplies at all from outside trade.
Yeah.
It's it is really stupid at this stance because we even have it here where we have every possible supply of trade, and it's still happening here.
We have
Why?
all the materials. We have all the money. We can hire people to repair and fix bridges. You know, how many months or years projects it takes to do that. You know, on the county level, on the municipal level, we have the money and the funds to do all of that. Do not be swayed or told otherwise. The fact that we are literally letting it go to dereliction. We're letting it go to the fucking dogs. And you know, so when anyone criticizes Cuba or any other country that they claim is like a communism bad, I ask you, you cannot start that conversation with me or any other communist without the first addressing the embargo. Like if they were like answer me this, if they were allowed the same access to materials and to capital that we are, would their infrastructure be better or worse? And if your answer is better, then it's like okay, well then so what's our excuse? And then if your answer is worse, then it's like okay, well now we can start the criticisms, you know. But until that point is addressed, absolutely zero. You have absolutely zero business bringing that into any conversation and using that as a crutch. It's like cutting off somebody's foot and deriding them because they couldn't finish a marathon or they couldn't walk around the block. It's like walking around the block is easy for the U.S. Shit, but you know Cuba has a harder time because they've been kneecapped. So
And I want to bring up another tangent, like that me and him were talking about it. So, I watched a video that was talking about the movement, the Cuban movement that was an anti-communist, against Castro and stuff. And I realized how not just how they're reactionary, but how terroristic they are. Like they basically put bombs on a plane with a bunch of Cubans that were in it. That was heading into I believe Havana, and they blew it down. Like these are the people that go like in Calle Ocho. If you're communists, are like, oh, you fucking killer, you fucking this, you fucking that. And this brings me to the political prisoners. You think the political prisoner in Cuba just like got there because they were talking smack about the government? They got there because of terroristic connections. These are the people that want them out, and it's really like a laughable movement in total. Like they're very ironically the characterization of the Castro government is of being like repressive and dictatorship is a manifestation of these people that they're portraying themselves and being terrorists and killing people.
Yeah, and for anyone who thinks we don't have that in the U.S., I just invite you to look up the CIA's, not CIA's Wikipedia page, but Huey Newton, the Black Panther Party, not a political prisoner, dude who was literally killed by the CIA. I'm sorry, CIA, FBI?
Huey Newton?
Yeah.
He got killed by a cop, I think.
Yeah, but it was no doubt a larger. He was killed in a raid on his home, and he was only.
No, that's Fred Hampton.
I'm sorry. Yeah, Fred Hampton.
Yeah, Huey Newton like got into a. I don't remember if he got into like a gunfight with a cop and he killed a cop or something and he went in jail. Or he died in that gunfight. I'm sorry, I totally forgot that part of history. But Fred Hampton is the one who got raided.
Yeah, my bad.
That was FBI.
That was FBI. Yeah. Okay, it was Fred Hampton.
But there is this thing that they say that FBI people like usually they collect evidence and they want people to like go to jail. They collect amounts of evidence and they want people to go to jail. they say that the ones who did the raid with the FBI were cops, and those cops wanted Hampton dead because of all his like doings, right? His all doings and stuff like that he's informing the public of this authoritarian regime in the United States, and they just killed the cops.
I mean, surprise, surprise, not me. Yeah. Speaking about third world countries, Argentina's economy is imploding. Javier Milei, the self-proclaimed anarcho-capitalist,
the crazy motherfucker that fucking was going to like events and shit and acting like a fool.
Yeah, he.
Here you go. You get these.
Yeah. Their economy is imploding. Of course, this has terrible terrible implications for the public. They're since December, which I think is when he took office, the whole country's been experiencing something like double-digit. I was just listening to this on the way here. They were experiencing double-digit dips in not productivity. It was inflation every month since his office. Of course, if you talk to inflation's gone up like 54% in the country, but if you talk to conservatives in America, they'll tell you like, oh, Marjorie Taylor Greene, they're like, oh, if we do this will save America. If you talk to any Republicans or other ANCAPs, it's like, oh shit, dude, they're saving this country right now. But who would have known that the man campaigning to get rid of almost all social services and government services, at the expense of the people, would bring forth negative consequences. Who knew, right? Who knew?
Who knew that?
Who knew?
Anarcho-capitalism doesn't work.
Yeah. Talk about having a moment. They're certainly having a moment, and that moment is like a fire sale, as far as I'm concerned. And at no time in history has the propping up of like private industry at the expense of public welfare been a net good for society at large. And you don't have to ask you don't have just ask the Argentinians right now.
I'm pretty sure I always forget his name. Javier,
yeah.
Javier, he probably knows about use values and exchange values of of how commodities are exchanged among another. They probably knows that, or he's probably a very economical like genius.
Yeah, genius being doing a lot of heavy lifting, but no, if you've ever seen this guy talk, if you've ever seen any videos of him like responding about like prior to him becoming the leader, like why he was going for why he was running and his platform and everything, this dude is to put it politely, he's got a few screws loose. The man was there's a video of him asking about where he's interviewed, why he's running, and he turns almost instantly like beet red, and you can kind of see like a switch go off in his mind, where he just starts railing against like leftists and like the ultra left and stuff like that. Basically, rabid anti-communist sentiment. He just starts spouting off almost immediately. And the interviewer's just like, yes, interesting. And you could tell this guy's just fucking mad. But apparently that was enough to sway the voters that way. And I just say, good luck to you. I hope if you're a leftist in Argentina, if you're a leftist anywhere, Godspeed, and we hope that you can survive this, you and your families, and the rest of your compatriots and country folk. It's not living under hyper-capitalist rule is not fun. Ask someone who knows. So
Yeah, if you're a communist, just take them out. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
or are we? Yeah, but the guys. I mean, I don't mean to trivialize it, saying like, oh, he's nuts, he's not any good. Like this, like when you're in that position of power, you got people in your corner, who are set to um, profit from the shit you do, and I'm sure they're making their bones, they're making their bread any way they can, and without without a second thought. But truly, if you're in Argentina, we hope that you can make this, and there won't be too many negative consequences. But again, that's only a hope. We'll see how it bears out in the days, in the months and years to come. So without that,
I estimate that this guy's gonna be in power. Do you know how long the presidential limit is?
I think it's 5 years
I think this guy's only gonna be 2 years at most.
at most.
They're probably gonna I don't know if there's a equivalent of
Term limits.
of what they do in Congress. Impeach. I don't know if there's an equivalent in
Like an
Argentina.
impeachment process or recall.
Yeah, because he's gonna fuck up the economy so bad. It's gonna be terrible. It's gonna be terrible.
Yeah.
It's already bad. But it's gonna be terrible because if he thinks that's that anarcho-capitalism works when there's no science behind it, just pure capitalism without no, which is weird because the theory about it is there should be no government. It's anarchism.
Mm-hmm.
There should be no state. I'm sorry. In anarchism, there is a government, but by the people, right? But there still is a state because this president is ruling over the people. It wasn't constructed by the people, the government in itself, and pure capitalism without no social services or any help. It's just suicide.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're going to learn very quickly that people are going to learn very quickly that they made mistakes. But I mean, that's not to. I'm not trying to infantilize the population, but yeah, it's to anybody still thinking that anarcho-capitalism, which is in and of itself is an oxymoron. It's not. It relies too much on too much. Um, or rather, the basis of it, from what I understand, is it thinks that everybody is born and they're all on the same. They're all on the level playing field. Everyone's starting out the same. Every dumb argument I've heard from an anarcho-capitalist that you could always leave your job if they're not paying you enough. It's like, yeah, but what if I have bills and children and rent to pay? I can't just leave a job. I don't have not independent. If you're not independently wealthy or have rich parents to kind of pad your lifestyle or support your lifestyle, you're SOL, man. If you're homeless, what's your safety net? You don't really have one as far as money's concerned. So best of luck to them out there, and really we wish you the best. So with that being said, have anything else to add?
No, I think we're done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that's been it for today, guys. You've been listening to Mob Boss Bolshevism. I'm Drem.
I'm Mark Sasula.
And we'll see you next time.
Peace.